Coming up on Mountain News this morning, the candidates have spoken, and now it is up to you, the voters, to decide who wins today's elections. And while thousands showed up in support of President Trump's rally, there were also plenty of people protesting the president's visit to Lexington on Monday. Plus, an Attorney General Andy Beshear spent the last day on the campaign trail stomping in western Kentucky, joined by other Democrats on the ballot.
Dedicated to eastern and southern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News This Morning.
Good morning. It is 5:30 a.m. Let's check in with Brandon Robinson for a look at your forecast this morning. Brandon, the fog is cleared out maybe, and it's a little warmer than it was earlier.
Some spots a little bit warmer than they were this time yesterday, and there's some patchy fog, but not a lot. You're right on that one. Be careful if you're heading out this morning. A lot of kids out of school for Election Day, but again, traveling still goes on, work still goes on. Let's take a look at Whitesburg. The camera there this morning overlooking the city. Things are fairly quiet. Main Street pretty quiet so far. 43 Pikeville, 36 in Hazard, 46 though in Wise. 34 in Harlan is our cool spot. 48 up toward Moorhead, and 39 in London and Somerset. Trying to read there for a little bit and having a little trouble with that. All right, let's talk about the temperature change from this time yesterday. So Lacey's right, it is a little bit warmer than it was this time yesterday, anywhere between 5 and about 10 degrees depending on where you are this morning. But you'll still need a little extra on the coffee meter. It's a little bit chilly in some of those valley locations. Your appcast taking you through today, this election day. Some rain chances to the north up near the Mountain Parkway I-64 corridor. The rest of us seeing sun and clouds and temperatures in the mid to upper 50s. The rest of that forecast on the way here in just a little bit. Lacey?
Thanks, Vernon. The candidates have spoken, and now it is up to you, the voters, to decide. Attorney General Andy Beshear spent much of Monday with supporters in western Kentucky, while Governor Bevin was joined by President Trump and thousands of others at a rally in Rupp Arena. That's where WYMT's Will Puckett and Connor James were last night, keeping viewers up to date from Lexington.
Welcome outside a chilly now Rupp Arena, and Connor, we heard about an hour and 20 minutes worth of a president's speech.
Filled with quite a few topics too, Will.
Yeah, definitely from start to finish, a whole host of topics, Connor, but he made it clear why he's in the Commonwealth.
That the Republican Party, you know what we stand for, but you see what's happening with the Democrats. They have gone crazy. The do-nothing Democrats.
But despite bringing in national politics, the president made it clear why he is here.
Tomorrow, Kentucky has a chance to send the radical Democrats a message. You will vote to reject the Democrats' extremism.
He covered the election in his belief that the Commonwealth has to vote a straight Republican ticket.
These proud Kentucky patriots did not shed their blood, sweat, and tears so that we could sit at home while others try to erase their legacy and destroy their magnificent heritage.
He outlined the entire Republican slate up for election Tuesday, but came back to stress the need to elect one man over any other.
I say, Matt, do I have to do it? Please, please. But isn't that really what you wanted, a governor? That's what you want.
His friendship with Governor Bevin is well documented, and his campaign says it's good for Kentucky.
It's a strong working relationship. It's very important because the president on the federal level can institute pro-growth policies, lower taxes, more money in the paychecks of the average voter in Kentucky.
While he believes it is vital, we will find out if Kentucky voters feel the same. So that's the scene that was inside Rupp Arena. Connor, as people exited, what was that like?
A very similar scene, a lot of very excited people. And you know, one of the things we were listening to is a lot of people came out with the sense of, yeah, I'm going to be voting Republican tomorrow. More than 20,000 people packed Rupp Arena to see the president speak and campaign for Republicans in the area.
Just to see our president of the United States, you know, just right in front of us, we're like, oh, wow, this is just so amazing. Wouldn't you say, Kevin?
Yeah, I really enjoyed it.
Some who attended say Monday night's speech by the president did indeed help Governor Bevin, and at a crucial time.
I would think so, yeah. I'm a Bevin fan, so.
Others say they made a day out of the event. Brandy Craze brought her daughter Jenna Lee out and used it as a teaching moment.
Pretty cool to get to see the president.
Yeah, we brought the whole family. We came up early this morning and just wanted to spend the day and show our support for the president, and we're glad he's here.
as you can see there, Will, a lot of excitement. Now we're going to have to see, will that translate over to the voting polls?
The polls are open from 6 a.m. until 6 p.m. today. You can watch President Trump's entire speech on our website, WYMT.com. We want to fact check some of the claims by President Trump during last night's Rupp Arena rally. First, the stock market. The president says yesterday was the biggest day on Wall Street in history, and that is true. All three major indexes reached record highs. But investors are still worried about Trump policies leading to a trade war with China. Experts say that would plunge the country into a recession. At last night's rally, the president also said Kentucky's unemployment rate is the lowest it has ever been, which is mostly correct. From March to June of 2019, it was 4% according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, which is the lowest on record. However, that number has started increasing as throughout the summer and into fall, where it currently stands at 4.5%, and the Bureau of Labor has only kept records since 1976. Job growth in Kentucky is still lagging behind the national average. And the president says Democrats are, quote, after your Second Amendment. Attorney General Andy Beshear says the favors common sense regulation. Beshear says a red flag law, otherwise known as extreme risk protection order, would allow a judge to remove a gun from a potentially dangerous person. Cases might involve domestic violence or mental illness. Governor Bevin calls that a slippery slope. However, the Attorney General has not supported various other stricter gun control measures. Of course, there were plenty of people protesting President Trump's visit to Lexington on Monday, most of whom wanted to take a picture with the famous baby Trump inflatable. The inflatable has been an iconic image for many who clearly disagree with the president. They were granted access to set up in front of Fayette County's Circuit Courthouse downtown.
It's kind of cool. It's like a big piece of art that's kind of traveled the world, and it's worth seeing, I suppose. It's kind of the freedom of America to say whatever it is that you want to say in the form of art.
The idea of bringing the balloon to Lexington started with a GoFundMe account by two Lexington organizations, and the group raised more than $5,000. Yesterday, Attorney General Andy Beshear spent the last day on the campaign trail stumping in western Kentucky. Joined by other Democrats on the ballot, Beshear is pushing for change in the governor's office. He was also joined by former primary rival Rocky Adkins. WKYT's Hillary Thornton spent the day with the Beshear campaign.
Well, after a long day out on the road with several rallies out in rural western Kentucky, Andy Beshear is back home here in Louisville, wrapping up his campaign with an appreciation event for volunteers and supporters here at Mile Wide Brewery. They started the final day in Paducah, Beshear knocking on his campaign's 1 millionth door.
It says this campaign is bigger than me. It's about all those Kentucky families that have been left out and left behind.
From there, traveling to Hopkinsville to spend some time with supporters there and to grab a coffee. Then it was on to Greenville, where the candidates addressed an energetic crowd. In their final rally of this campaign, they were met with a packed crowd in Bowling Green.
I was raised with those same Kentucky values, those West Kentucky values that you were.
Alongside them in this home stretch is Beshear's father, former Governor Steve Beshear, who does call Western Kentucky home, as well as his primary challenger, House Minority Leader Rocky Adkins. We talked exclusively to the one-time opponents together out on the campaign trail.
Andy will focus in on the urban areas of the state to keep those economic engines, but he's looked me in the eye and he said, I'll guarantee you this, when I'm governor, we will focus, and rural Kentucky will have a seat at the table when it comes to creating a new economy, new hope, new opportunity. You know where I'm from? Eastern Kentucky, just like here in West Kentucky, we're seeing a depopulation of rural Kentucky, and that's wrong. It's time for us to stand up for all of Kentucky.
This governor judges our prosperity by how he and his wealthy buddies are doing it. I'm going to judge our prosperity on how our families are doing. I'm going to fight for every single Kentuckian because we all count.
This does obviously wrap up all of the campaign events. We are told Beshear and his wife will be voting early in the morning. They then will watch the results come in here in Louisville. For now in Louisville, Hillary Thornton, WKYT.
Beshear and the statewide Democratic candidates and Governor Bevin and the statewide Republican candidates will be in Louisville tonight. We will have reporters at both camps. Right now, we are asking on WYMT.com who you plan on voting for in our live poll. Now, this is not scientific, but as you can see, it's very close, which is what other polls have suggested. Several people still say they are undecided. Other races to keep a close eye on throughout the day. Kentucky will have a new Attorney General and Secretary of State. Both incumbents are term limited. First, the Attorney General's race, a familiar face in Kentucky politics. Democrat Greg Stumbo taking on political newcomer and Republican Daniel Cameron. Stumbo is a former state legislator from Floyd County who also served one term as Attorney General from 2004 to 2008. Cameron served as legal counsel for Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell and is trying to become the first Republican Attorney General in 70 years. Meanwhile, for Secretary of State, it is Republican Michael Adams taking on Heather French Henry. Adams is an attorney specializing in election law, while French Henry is a former Miss America who has worked for years on veterans issues. Today's voters turnout is projected to be about 31%. We crunched some numbers. Since 2010, the average voter turnout statewide for the general election is 43%. The top 5 counties for average turnout is Franklin, Woodford, Carlisle, Marshall, and Washington counties, all above 50%, while the bottom 5 is Christian, Lewis, Fulton, Clay, and Pike counties. Polls will be open from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. You can visit govoteky.com to find your voting location and see a sample ballot. After you vote, stick with WYMT on air and online for minute-by-minute results after the polls close. The East Ridge High School auditorium was packed last night as the Pray Anyway rally kicked off. The rally is a response to criticisms and the later removal of prayer lockers in Pike County schools. Americans United for the Separation of Church and State sent a letter to the district in September saying they had received complaints about the lockers from members of the community. In response, students from around the county started a Prayer Anyway movement, opening several student-ran prayer lockers and organizing a rally to share their message.
Especially in today's society, that teenagers, it's not cool to stand up for Jesus. It's not the norm. It's not the thing that you do. And I think by starting this, so many people are going to be able to have a voice.
Some students say this movement is part of what they call a larger battle against their religious freedom. Several students spoke at last night's rally, along with guest preacher Greg Locke. We take a more detailed look at Monday's rally in our 6 o'clock hour right here on Mountain News This Morning. Coming up, an oven was launched into space yesterday to bake some out-of-this-world cookies and help astronauts find out whether baking is possible in space.
Well, I hope it is. If you're heading out to the polls soon, make sure you bundle up. Have your full election day forecast in about 3 minutes.